Hi everyone, a massive warm welcome to today's Monday market update. Things are happening. I want to get straight in, but first of all, I just want to make note of how many of you have engaged with the CCI Christmas competition. It has been phenomenal. The participation is off the charts. Keep doing what you're doing and enjoy this. Hopefully you win some prizes. Have a great Christmas and we're sharing the Christmas cheers. So let's crack in because I've got a real funny one to start. Yeah, it is funny because Donald Trump has come out and released his own NFT collection. It's funny and amusing in that sense, but what it could paint broadly is polarizing figures, celebrities, all that. We know this trend is coming, but this is an incredibly high profile person, love him or hate him. He's previously said he hates Bitcoin, doesn't like crypto. And all of a sudden someone's got in his ear and said, we should do this NFT thing. I think he's already made about 4.4 million. So if he's strapped for cash, he's suddenly made a bit, but broadly, he's got so much support, millions upon millions of supporters across the world. In my eyes, this is a net positive. It's going to bring a lot more people into the ecosystem. It's going to make people get MetaMask wallets, ledgers, get exposed to NFTs, what crypto is, they're going to start searching for it. Not saying this is the end of the bear market at all, but NFTs are being shot to hell. And this is probably a nice little injection in the arm to bring a bit more, awareness, or at least back to the space after FTX and whatnot went on. So very, very fascinating. Look at that total volume being traded, 6,000 Ethereum, one of the most highest volume transacted NFTs going at the moment for the entire year. So absolutely wild. These started at, I think, around $99. Now they're up into the hundreds of dollars. So a nice little profit you to see these. Absolutely wild. I think there's a small percentage of the trading cards, quote unquote, that have his personal signature on that are going for much, much higher. So yeah, very interesting. And I just wanted to point this out here. What chain has he based it on? And it is Polygon. It's not Ethereum. It's not, anything else, Solana, whatnot. It is Polygon. So that is Matic. We're hearing a lot of good things with Matic in terms of partnerships in the real world. So just wanted to bring this up, guys, as a bit of a fun little novelty that Trump has released his own NFT collection. All right, let's crack into the Bitcoin chart. A few things I just want to cover off here. So the positive uptrend that I focused on and just wanted to make a hyper simple explanation of, what it was, which is higher lows. So the bottom is always just getting higher and higher and higher, and the highs are progressively getting higher. That is a nice positive trend. And I was speculating last week that this trend should continue if this base holds. It did, found that floor there, also banged into over here, and then it finally had that higher high to really cap off this positive trend. There was a little expansion, so from the bottom here around the FTX issues, up about 17%. So we got up to around 18,300, 400, and then after that, that's a range high, really respecting that height. Also tried to punch through the 200 daily moving average. That is not a fun line to be under. So it's just going to face a lot of resistance. Every time we try and butt up through that, it had a few things going against it once it was through that level. Heavy resistance above it, the range high. Then it had the 200 to also contend with. What you would have wanted to see was this punch to range high, but then a pullback to the top of the 200. It stopped there, and then we see buys come in, and then we see another higher low form, and then you can look for the next higher high. But it didn't hold, came down pretty darn quickly. This was all in the same area and mode as the Federal Reserve bringing down their interest rate rise, which it really smoked this little move up after the CPI, which was fairly positive. Then we had the FOMC come out, and we lost essentially all those gains back to, was it the 7th of December? So this volume support is holding right now, which is interesting. So yeah, it's not the end of the world at all, guys. But if we're looking at in terms of what we've seen previously, I just wanted to compare this to the last couple of rising channels that we've seen. So this rising channel here, you can see Bitcoin started to create what we saw over here, a positive trend. This is far more, we've got far more data points. We've got far more high highs, far more high lows. But you can see here, this trend started to develop, reached the top, hit the high up here, and then FTX just flushed us down. And this is super, super important to actually reclaim that around that 18,000 area, because it was the floor of a lot of this price action that happened previously. But this is the rising channel I wanted you to focus on, because this is probably comparable, slightly different angles and whatnot, but just in a sense. So the higher lows moving up, higher highs, and then, you know, reaches a point at a range high where it just can't go any further and then smashes right through. This is similar to what we're seeing now. So we've broken down beneath the rising channel. We've, you know, broken underneath the 200, and now we're trying to consolidate and just climb higher. And if I just have a look here, if we're going to draw the Fibonacci retracement tool across here, we came down to the almost near the 0.618, and we started to grind higher, move back above the 0.5, so that's a 50% retracement level, and then we had the next move lower back into that range. Now, if we go back to where we are currently, if I draw the Fibonacci tool of where we are, I suspect it's going to be fairly similar. Let's go to the low, all the way to the high. So in this instance, we've actually moved back to this line here, 0.618. But in this instance, we actually found it as support and moving higher, trying to breach back above this volume area. So look, for me, this is very clearly in a range. So, and by range, I mean this here. You can see that there. Very, very clear range that Bitcoin has found itself in. It's found the top of it now. Will it come back and find the bottom? It's already found the bottom twice. You know, not sure, you know, either way. We just need to know a decisive move. And we won't know the decisive move until we, one, either break above this area or break below this area. So we just don't know that price direction. Right now, we're essentially in no man's land. I'd love to see Bitcoin move up and reclaim this 21 here. Also, the 200 is just so important. So get on back on top of these two, you know, back into this channel and then move higher. That's what ideally I'd love to see. But right now, this is shaping up for, you know, a repeat of one of those channels I just showed you before. So that drop the down, maybe back down to the lows, if not lower, depending on what we see. But you know what, the bears haven't really shown too much follow through here. We're not seeing that real vicious sell-off, which the next leg down comes from just yet. So be mindful of that. This area is looking fairly juicy for me. Also a little bit further at 14,000. That's if the market continues to move lower. There was a volume gap, which I'll just show with your, where was it? Yeah, so once we're below this level here, it should move pretty quickly down below. So that's why this bottom of the range is very, very important in terms of holding as that support. And here as well, we just don't want to lose this. Alternatively, if we get back above, you know, the $17,000 level, the 21, there's not a lot of volume above it. So we do have that scope to move. So really, essentially, again, we are in no man's land. So just be that as it may, and pay attention for any decisive move. But for now, we're range bound, we're chopping about. Again, this is what markets do when liquidity is low and we're trying to find that bottom. Okay, just wanted to touch on Ethereum because fairly similar outcomes are happening here. For me, again, this is in a pretty clearly defined range. You know, had beaten above this line here for a little while, but smashed back in and couldn't rehold it there. So for me, this is very, very clear. I've just drawn boxes here as liquidity zones in terms of what Ethereum needs to do, because Ethereum, like Bitcoin, is in no man's land, but it looks a little bit less healthy in my eyes just here because it is starting to teeter down below, you know, key horizontal resistance here and just shaving a bit down. I might just bring up the relative strength, see if that tells me anything. I brought up the on-balance volume. It looks like Ethereum volumes on exchanges are falling away, which isn't great if you're looking for more of an uptrend. Again, there's that really rush to self-custody at the moment, so hard to get a massive read there. You know, high lows on the RSI, but it doesn't really tell me too much. I didn't like this reaction here at that 200, just like Bitcoin. Same with the FOMC, fell down. It's trying to climb its way back up. We'll just look at the Fibonacci retracement, see where it is. Yeah, I mean, it's had a nice move above that 0.618 here, this line here, so 61% retracement. Fell down, couldn't quite get to the 0.786, but this is a nice move. So hopefully this climbs a bit higher, retests the 21, but like Bitcoin, a bit in no man's land. So not a lot to report on the charts, guys, apart from the fact that it's just more of the same. We're seeing this movement in this area. Nothing's changed. No decisive move has been seen. So no reason to get overly excited, no reason to get hyper bearish either. It's just doing what it's doing. All right, I wanted to show you some on-chain data, some exclusive on-chain data, which we have access to, which is phenomenal because this costs a hell of a lot of money and not many people get to look at it. We want to show you exactly what you want to see for this bear market phase to be over. So just preparing you for when this does eventually end, I just want to show you what to look for. So this is the average cost basis of the average investor and also the average cost basis of short-term holders and long-term holders. Now, what we've seen here, just over here earlier in the year, we saw a crossover of the short-term holder and the long-term holder cost basis. that historically has always shown us that we're down into the bottom accumulation zone, or that area which gets pretty scary. You don't know how low it's going to drop, but you know that the bottom is starting to find itself. You see the capitulation, all that kind of stuff. And boy, have we seen it a few times in terms of Lunar FTX. So we dropped well beneath it, and then we had the FTX collapse down here. What we want to see is, for one, is for Bitcoin to reclaim the realized price level. That's that orange line in the middle. And so far, or right now rather, that is sitting at around about, almost smack bang on 20,000. So huge psychological support there. Get above 20,000, we can get a lot more confident about where we sit and going more aggressively in this market. Right now, whenever it's below the realized price, it has historically been an amazing time to dollar cost average and accumulate Bitcoin, at least. I'm not going to diverge into cryptos just yet. But if we look at that, every time we've been below it, it has been a point of serious financial opportunity. I'll show you why in a sec. I'll zoom out. Alternatively as well, when we see the recross, so once the pink line, you can see there it's below the realized price at the moment, once that crosses back over the blue line on the top, that's when we know we're out of the bear market, just going by history. So that's all I'm looking at in terms of historical accuracy. So if I'm just going to go back to the 2019-18 bear market, we can see here we had the cross of the blue line and red line. Then we went down into this purple phase area where underneath the realized price as well, it's just an area of just huge financial opportunity. Over here, we saw, in fact, I'm going to zoom in and show you guys exactly what I'm looking at. Okay, that will help. So yeah, we crossed over there, then we're in this bottom accumulation area. And then over here, we had the crossover, which was actually when almost like a lag, we saw that we'd actually pulsed out of this lower area and we started to go into more of an uptrend, but there was a definite crossover here. But the price actually crossed over the realized price April 19th, around that area. You can see there we crossed over that orange line. Once we're on top of it, it just signals to the market that we're in a much more positive space. The issue that we've seen, and I could go back to the last cycle as well and show you the exact same thing. I'm not going to waste your time on that. But if we go over here to what we've seen recently, it just shows you how vicious this cycle has been in terms of historical movements around the realized price and the 200 weekly moving average and all that. We've actually been above the realized price a couple of times. So we got above it here, above the orange line, then ripped down, in another big sell-off. Then we got a little bit above it there, and we got a little bit above it here. If I zoom in, it would show you that. But every time we've just dropped down again and again and again. When we do break above it finally and find that support on top of it is, again, when you can be more confident in this market. And when we see that cross of the short-term holder and long-term holder, that means that those short-term holders are really coming back into the markets. We're seeing a lot of new buyers propelling that short-term holder realized price that little bit higher, crosses over that, because the long-term holders aren't really selling anymore. They're just holding onto their coins. Short-term holders, relatively new into this space. There's not a lot of that going on. So we need to see that tick over, shows the market's in a more healthier state. Then we can see the buyers really start to roll. And that's what we're looking at with the on-chain data in terms of a broader cycle analysis. All right, guys, hope you've enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to keep doing our Christmas competition. Keep staying tuned for my videos, and have a great weekend. We'll be closing up shop on the 23rd, so there won't be any videos after that point until a bit later in the year. But apart from that, have a wonderful day. Have a great one. Bye.